Okay, so we really have to talk about this. Niantic recently put out a blog post talking about the recent anti-cheating efforts that they had in 2020. And I gotta be honest with you guys, I was really surprised by some of the things that they revealed in this blog post. Now, just like the blog post mentions, they didn't reveal any of their methods for detecting spoofing and cheating, but they did release the numbers on how many people got banned, how many people were given a warning, and how many people stopped cheating after they received these warnings. And believe me, I don't think that anyone predicted that it would be this high of a number, but I'm going to be talking about all of that in today's video. This is definitely going to be a controversial one, but anyway, let's get right into it. And how's it going, everyone? It's me, it's Count here with a brand new Pokemon Go related video for you. Today I'm going to be talking about Niantic's recent efforts to combat cheating in their games, more specifically Pokemon Go. Now, for the longest time, there's always been this big battle between spoofing and non-spoofing in Pokemon Go. There are definitely people who spoof in Pokemon Go, and if you don't know what spoofing is, it's basically a form of cheating where you could fake your GPS location in order to catch certain rare Pokemon or participate in raid battles. And this has been a thing since pretty much the beginning of Pokemon Go. There has always been a subset of players who decide to play the game illegitimately, and they would rather just spoof around and catch Pokemon that way. And of course, Niantic has never been happy about this. Even if spoofers were spending a whole lot of money in order to play the game, Niantic has always been about keeping the integrity of the game intact. So of course, naturally, they've been always just trying to go after spoofers and spoofing apps. Recently, we saw some spoof app developers get cease and desist letters as well as some lawsuits. And of course, they rolled out all different kinds of ban systems and warning systems over the years so that they could encourage players not to spoof. And it seems like they were really successful at doing that in 2020. And I highly suspect that they're going to continue doing that in 2021, and they're going to continue to improve on their cheating detection methods as well as roll out even more permanent bans and red warnings. Now, I have to say this with every video that I make regarding spoofing or any kind of spoofing news. I really do not agree with spoofing. I don't think it's something that is good for the game, and I don't think that it's something that allows players to enjoy Pokemon Go the way it was meant to be enjoyed. And I know a lot of players will push back against that. I mean, the rural argument always comes up, as well as the argument that if a player is disabled and they're not able to go out and play, then they should have access to the game in some way, and spoofing allows that. But I don't think that the game was meant to be played like that, and rather than giving the whole life is unfair argument, I will say that there are certain things about this game that unfortunately are not going to be accessible for everyone, just like every other game that's ever been made. There are some games that require an internet connection, and some people do not have a stable internet connection, or they just simply do not have access to internet. And there are some games that will require a certain amount of time in order to complete, and I know a lot of players out there do not have all the time in the world. It's kind of the same thing with Pokemon Go, only with Pokemon Go it's a little bit interesting. It has more to do with your physical location. So let's actually read this blog post in its entirety. So here we go. We don't talk much about our anti-cheating efforts, partly because we don't want to provide cheaters with information that can help them better understand our detection mechanisms better. Yeah, that makes total sense. Like, if they are going after cheating, obviously they don't want to tell people how they are going after them so that, cheaters and spoof app developers could be better prepared. But in any case, yeah, let's continue. But rest assured, our reluctance to share is not due to a lack of effort or intent from our side. Having said that, we have made a commitment with all of our players towards promoting fair gameplay, preserving the integrity of our games, and improving transparency with our players. Now, this makes total sense. Obviously, Niantic doesn't want to support cheaters, and of course, their silence on the matter could make them seem like they are in support of cheaters, or they're not doing much against them, and that is actually far from the case. As part of this commitment, we'd like to provide an update on some of our recent efforts to curb cheating in our games. Since the beginning of 2020, we've issued punishments to more than 5 million cheaters across Pokemon Go and the rest of their games, where over 20% of those punishments were actually permanent bans. That's actually pretty huge, and it also correlates with the video I made last year about how Niantic is actually rolling out permanent bans. More than 90% of users who received their first warning stopped cheating afterwards. Now, this is a pretty big one. I'm going to talk about this a little bit more later. This is quite encouraging for us as we continue to find the right balance between punishing casual cheaters versus the more egregious ones. That's obviously going to be a really tough one, right? Like, weeding out egregious cheaters is going to be pretty easy, but when it comes to casual players, like, do you consider them cheating if they only spoof every once in a while? Like, this is some of the things that I'm sure Niantic is discussing behind the scenes. We have invested in new and emerging technologies while continuing to grow our team to improve our detection and enforcement capabilities. We'll continue to act against those who violate our terms of service, and we'll be reinforcing our efforts in the coming weeks. So this is a bit of a warning to spoofers that Niantic is expanding their anti-cheating department, and they are looking into new technologies that will make it easier for them to detect cheating. So if you spoof and you haven't gone with a red warning in a long time, well, chances are Niantic is still going to find out whether or not you are cheating, and you will eventually get banned if you continue to do so. We are always listening to our players and are exploring ways to leverage our community to ensure our games remain fair. Now, I know a lot of rural spoofers are going to disagree with that, but I digress. To empower all Ingress agents, we've rolled out a new fast track progress, which would enable them to request, okay, that seems to be something involving Ingress. I don't really care about Ingress, I'm sorry. To address concerns of remote Ingress portals, okay, there's even more stuff with Ingress. I actually wonder if there's more cheating in Ingress than there is in Pokemon Go. I really do not know, because I don't really play Ingress. But in any case, yeah, let's finish this off. We are committed to ensuring fair gameplay across our game portfolio. Every day, newer forms of cheating or spoofing tools are made available on the internet. That is very true. And we are continuously working to combat those cheaters and focus on improving our detection and enforcement, as they have no place in our games. I don't think they could make it any more clear that they do not like spoofing. As a reminder, please only use the official versions of our games available on the Google Play Store, Apple App Store, and Samsung Galaxy Store. And note that we do not support jailbroken or rooted devices. I mean, yeah, that's been kind of the staple ever since the beginning of the game. So what are my thoughts on this? Well, obviously a lot of people are going to be really upset about this whole thing. I mean, a lot of people that I talk to who used to spoof, they really do not like the fact that Niantic is constantly hovering over their backs, and they are looming the permanent ban thing over their heads like constantly. So hearing something like this is definitely not going to help that. But for me personally, I do not spoof and I do not support spoofing, so something like this is actually really good news for me. Of course, for me as a legit player, I've suffered a lot of different disadvantages against spoofers. A lot of spoofers are able to get some of the best Pokemon that they could bring into the Go Battle League, especially if they have some sort of map that coincides with their spoofing. So yeah, it is really frustrating that spoofing exists in Pokemon Go as a legit player. But of course, me as a legit player, it's really encouraging that Niantic is being very transparent about their stance on spoofing, and the fact that they are actually putting an effort into just stomping out spoofing in Pokemon Go and all their different games. I mean, it is like the blog post says, like they've been very silent about their anti-spoofing efforts for the longest time, but it seems like they've been continuously working behind the scenes. Now, of course, for spoofers, this is going to seem like some really bad news, but I actually think there is a bit of a silver lining in this blog post that you should definitely consider. It really seems like Niantic is holding off on issuing permanent bans left and right, and they are willing to give players a second chance. It's very rare that a company will do this, especially for a game as big as Pokemon Go. Spoofing can definitely harm Pokemon Go's development, and of course when it comes to their revenue streams, like with sponsors and sponsored stops, so the natural inclination should be that they should just roll out permanent bans whenever you spoof. But instead of doing that, they're giving players a second chance. Out of the 5 million cheaters that they reportedly detected and issued punishments for, only 20% of them were actually permanently banned, which of course is about 1 million. So yeah, they didn't roll out that many permanent bans. But this is the really telling thing right here. More than 90% of users who received their first warning stopped cheating afterwards. That's something that they reported, and for me this reveals exactly what Niantic is trying to do. They want people to still play their games, but they don't want them to cheat. So rather than just preventing them from playing the game ever again, they're just nudging them along to not cheat, and it's very rare that a game studio will ever do that. You see a lot of game studios studios just roll out permanent bans and just think nothing of it. But when it comes to Niantic, you could tell that they genuinely care about their game and they want players to enjoy it. I mean, to be honest with you, it's got to be a terrible way to play Pokemon Go if you have the fear of getting your account permanently banned just constantly looming over your back. I mean, I probably wouldn't enjoy the game, and I know a lot of spoofers probably don't enjoy the game for that reason alone. I know a lot of players who used to spoof who have stopped spoofing. Most of them have just started playing the game legit, but others have just been very frustrated with Niantic, the fact that Niantic has constantly went after cheaters, and they just felt like with that kind of looming shadow over their back, they just didn't end up enjoying the game. Look, what it comes down to is that Niantic does not support cheating in Pokemon Go or any of their games. They obviously do not want players to go around and GPS spoof because that's going to prevent them from very specific design choices, or they have to balance the game with spoofers in mind, like when it comes to the GBL. So obviously they would just rather not have spoofers be in the game at all. And to be honest with you, it just really seems like the spoofing community has completely diminished over time anyway. Out of all of these spoofing YouTubers and content creators that have existed over the years, there's really only one that remains, and that is of course Lifting and Zombies. And he seems like a really nice guy. I just wish he didn't spoof because I really feel like I would enjoy his content in that regard. But in any case, yeah, you see a lot of YouTubers who used to spoof just completely quit the game, or they move on to other games, or they just go full legit and then just go on a big redemption arc. So I don't know, it just really seems like spoofing itself has just completely diminished, and there really isn't much of a spoofing community anymore anyway. And I really find it interesting that when it came to 2020, of course with the pandemic and all of these lockdowns in mind, there really was a huge decline in spoofing. I mean, even in my local areas, I hardly saw spoofers take over gyms and raid battles and different things like that. Whereas in the past, it seemed like every time there was a raid, it would just fill up to 20 people in the lobby because spoofers would just take over. But I haven't seen that in such a long time. Yeah, occasionally you'll see the spoofer here and there, and of course when it comes to gym battling, it is pretty annoying that after you take a gym and there's definitely no one else there at that park, that a spoofer just comes in and just starts destroying it. But yeah, there wasn't as much of that in 2020 as there was in previous years. So I find it very interesting that even in spite of the pandemic and all of these lockdowns and people being confined to their homes, there was a drastic decline in spoofing, and it really seems like Niantic's efforts is a big part of that. But yeah, that's really all I have to say on this matter. I know a lot of people are going to have some heated discussions in the comments section. Try to be civil. I know spoofers are pretty passionate about spoofing, and legit players are equally as passionate about non-spoofing as well. So yeah, we're gonna have some heated debates, but at the same time, just know that everyone is a human being and they want to play the game the way they want to play it, and it's really not up to us to punish them for that. It's their own choice, and of course it's all up to Niantic to decide what they want to do with that. But yeah, anyway, that's gonna be it for this video. Leave your thoughts in the comment section below, and if it's your first time here, make sure you hit that subscribe button for more Pokemon Go content like this one, and if you enjoyed this video, make sure you hit that like button as well. And yeah, I am Count Jinsula. Be safe, have fun, and I'll catch you all later.